Hi, today we have a special guest, which is a Dr. Mark Greene, who is a specialist on the psychology. Hi, Dr. Mark Greene.
Hi, Youngmi. Nice to see you. Nice to
Nice to
hear you.
see you. So today the topic is about trust. Trust is very important, especially for relationship, for the love, for the family, for the business as well. So we would like your professional opinion. My first question is how to tell the person is trustworthy? Like, do you have like body
Yeah.
language or some kind of things we can tell the person is more trustworthy?
You mean like visually without getting to know them, just like look at them and
Let's say the
have an
first
idea?
time. Yeah.
That's a really good question. I think it's a difficult question. And I think most of psychologists will say that, especially in relationships, romantic or business, trust has to be earned. It's something that people get over time. So if you're relating to a business partner or a romantic partner, and 9 times out of 10, they do what they say they're going to do, that's pretty trustworthy. But it's based on observation over a period of time. I don't know. I mean, one thing I can say, some people have difficulty looking in the eyes. Eye contact
Mm.
doesn't mean they're not trustworthy. It can mean a lot of things like Asperger's
Shine.
syndrome, huh?
Shine.
A kind of shyness, but it could also be a condition like Asperger's syndrome or someone on the spectrum or ADHD, attention
Oh,
deficit hyperactivity disorder. So a lot of people use social cues to help them gain trust with somebody. But some people suffering from mental disorders, they don't understand social cues. And so they might just talk for 20 minutes and not stop and without realizing the other person's bored, for example. So I don't know if there's a one size fits all answer how to see if someone's trustworthy the first time you meet them. I think that's pretty tough. That's why people shake hands. Have you heard that thing about in the West why people shake hands?
how
It's to
firm it
show
is, right?
it's what?
How firm is your handshake power,
Well,
right?
there's a whole school. Yeah, there's a lot of research about that too. But we shake with our strong hand. Let's say most people are right-handed, and the reason they say in the West that people do it is to show that you're not hiding a weapon behind your back.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so you don't have a gun, you don't
So
have a
they don't
stick.
stab you suddenly.
Exactly. So, hi, we are kind of admitting a certain degree of vulnerability when you meet a stranger, where you say, I trust you at least to talk and not hurt me, and I won't hurt you. I mean, there's some kind of basic assumption in there, right?
Mm.
But I really think it's a behavioral thing. It's ongoing. We learn to trust somebody or distrust them.
Okay, interesting. Because the Chinese culture, we have something like face telling to tell the person is it trustworthy or not. What you just mentioned about the eyes blinking is one of them. So for us, is they say that the face telling, if someone you're talking to is keep blinking the eyes, it means maybe he or she is hiding something, or
Hiding.
it's just like a personality check. Maybe he is not doing that, but maybe it's just a personality. He like to hide something. Um, you know, or we say someone showing the gums, like when he or she talk is showing the gum. It means someone
Uh-huh.
like to reveal the secret to other people, like
Interesting.
we call big mouth, right? So yeah, it's quite interesting. I also come across with a book about the FBI, how to tell the person is lying or not, something like that. It's
Hmm.
talk about the body gesture or something. So
Well, yeah, I mean, body language is an old field, yeah. But I think I mean, even the best lie detectors, the ones that are actually instruments that measure heartbeat and breathing, and have very special training for people to ask the questions and see the responses. Even those can be fooled. But there's a high degree of reliability when someone's lying when they're hooked up to various instruments. Um, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess one of them is avoiding eye contact. So if I'm looking at you and then they say, well, where were you on Wednesday the 15th? And the person goes like that, maybe
oh
they're
yeah,
trying to
the
make up a
left
story.
right direction, right?
Oh, there's left, right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of theories. I don't think they're all very conclusive.
Okay.
Um,
So remind me, so if I ask someone, hey, where have you been at this time? So when he looking to the left, is telling the lie or is the truth?
when they look to the left, they're using their right brain.
Mm.
And so the right brain is not necessarily factual, it's more abstract. So they could be, I mean, you can make an argument for either way that now they're going to tell you a story. Or if they look to the right and they're using their left brain, maybe that indicates they're trying to actually review something logical, like, what happened A, B, C, D. So again, you can make arguments for both, but people tend to say that when you fly off to the right, you're using your left brain, so you're more analytical. When you fly off to the left, you're using your right brain, so you're more abstract. It's not about lying necessarily, it's just how we think in general. But
Oh,
I think good liars, they know all this stuff, right? So they're not going to get caught in those things. Lying is, when kids are like 5 or 6 and they can't lie very well, like they
oh,
try to lie, but it's really obvious they're telling a lie. That's because their limbic
mm.
brain, the primitive and the mammalian emotional part of the brain, is not fully hooked up to the prefrontal cortex yet. So when all those neurons are hooked up, kids can control crying better and they can lie better. So lying is a
Oh,
sign of intelligence. The smarter you are, the better you can lie.
oh my God. Okay. So a smart guy tends to have a higher ability to lie. Well, of course, otherwise, if someone is very dumb, I can always tell, oh, he is lying, right?
Yeah, I just think, that it just, I mean, that development just shows that when we lie, we're using a very sophisticated part of our brain. So if we're very well developed in our prefrontal cortex, we'll be very good salesmen. We can tell the truth. We don't have to
Yeah,
lie,
yeah,
but if we lie, we tend to do it better than people
yeah.
who are not so developed.
Yeah. Well,
So that's interesting.
Dr. Green, you just mentioned about the trust usually is like we need to build the trust. But I know
Yeah,
some people, like myself, actually I trust the person 100% first and then I deduct like when he or she screw up something, I start to doubt the person, which is really not good mechanism somehow. So
it's not so bad. Not so bad. I like you give them 100 credits, and then they burn the credits if they disappoint you, right?
they burn right away. It basically is. Yeah, but so is it there's a saying say which way is better or I can train myself to the other way or
I think you want to avoid all or nothing thinking, right? So when you say I'm totally all in with someone, I totally believe them, and then I get disappointed or I don't get disappointed. I
mm,
think the common language in psychology is you have to create healthy emotional boundaries. So you can give people the benefit of the doubt. You can treat them the way you want to be treated, but you need to have a boundary where maybe you're not going 100% in, right? Like maybe give them 50 credits instead of 100, and then see what they do with that, right? See how they
mm,
perform with your trust.
yeah, yeah. Well, in the relationship is quite big issue on trust. Well, for me, relationship is the trust is number one fundamental things for the relationship. Without trust, the one party will start to doubt the other party so much, like question so much, and then it become no more fun in the relationship. Same for the business. If you don't trust the person, let's say you hire a cashier, hire a accountant, you don't trust the person. It's so difficult to make the work very effectively function. So I wondering how to build the trust. Let's say if someone has very bad experience before and with another party, with some other people, and then for themselves, they're like, wow, so difficult to build a trust. Let's say some divorced person or some people were cheated on the business. So how to build up the trust again to other people?
Well,
How to
it's
believe in
interesting.
other people?
You're using trust as if it were this valuable resource that can only be applied to positive behavior. I can trust someone to be a screw up. I can trust, they've shown me over and over again that they're not trustworthy. So now I can trust them to repeat that behavior. Right? Trust isn't always like positive. I trust you. I trust you won't take the money out of the cash register. But now, since the camera has shown you doing it 5 times, and I've told you about it 6 times, I can trust that you will probably do it again, right? So it's not so much
Oh,
about trust, it's about, well, when do I draw the line, right? This person has taught me not to trust them in a positive way, to trust them in a negative way. Maybe it's time to end the relationship.
okay. Yeah, okay. And so, but let's say how for some people they have they have difficulty to trust people. They always doubt or suspect other people. How any advice for them to overcome this obstacle?
Yeah, I think the model in psychotherapy and psychology is we really can't control other people. So if we find that we have a pattern of not trusting others, it's probably more a commentary about us, not so much the people that have burned us in our life. I mean, that may also be true, but part of that equation might be, how naive am I? Maybe people need to learn to be skeptical and suspicious, and a little more, survival oriented, so that they have fewer of these experiences, right? Like, in other words, it's about self awareness. I think it's not like, if you're not self aware, then you're going to be ripped off. But a lot of people do get ripped off who are not self aware, right? So I think there's something to be said for wanting to be comfortable with oneself, develop confidence, self esteem, and then you still can't control other people, but you can control yourself,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, it's very interesting story because I heard so many story. I heard one theory called cut loss theory. It's like
Right,
many women has this issue. Let's say we invest in one guy, we have been dating someone for a long time, let's say 10 years time. It happened to my friend all
right,
the time. And then they realize the guy is not the right guy or the guy did something wrong, something like that. And then but they don't want to quit the relationship because they has
right,
invested for 10 years of their youth. So they don't want to give up. Like, wow, we need to go ahead to marry. Go ahead. You need to invest more. We have a cut loss theory. Same for business, right? Let's say you invest in one project, you put money for the invention, and then maybe you put already 10 million inside. It's like if you realize, oh, something wrong, but you invest already 10 million, so you want to go ahead to push more. So
yeah.
more
It's a
you
kind
put inside is more difficult for you to cut loss, we say.
Well,
So
the story that people are telling themselves is, I've already put so much time, I've already put so much money, therefore it would be smarter for me to stick with it just in case it turned around, and then I could say I wasn't wasting my time. So I think that's been proved to be totally irrational, right? So it's painful to cut. It's painful to say, I think I made a big mistake. And if I cut now, I will prevent further losses. I think stocks are like that, right? When people really take a nosedive in the stock, a lot of them don't let go for the
yeah,
same reason. They said, I've been with you so long, I hope you'll get better. um,
yeah.
but I think that's the cut loss theory shows the reluctance to admit that maybe we made a judgment, made a mistake. Um, and I guess the advice then is probably cut and move on. It's not easy to hear that news, right?
Well, after 10 years relationship or after 10 millions, maybe it's very tough for them because it's a big investment on
But if
time
you,
or on money or your heart, your
of
the effort
course,
you
of
have made
course.
before. So
But
it's
the research shows that
same for the
if the
job.
research shows, sorry,
Same for the career path. Some people work on one industry. They get bored and then they're like, but I have already to be manager or MD director or something. They just don't want to quit the safe nets. They have make so much effort. Finally some return. I don't want to quit now, but I don't enjoy the life. It happens all the time.
the problem with not cutting, the problem with sticking, is the person is still telling themselves the same story. The story is, it's going to get better. I put so much effort into it, it's going to get better. The problem with that is then another 5 years go by and you're saying the same thing, nothing's changed, or maybe it's even worse, or 20 years. Like you said, oh my gosh, it's 10 years. Okay, what if it's 20? Because the person's not changed their mindset. Now it's 30. Okay, it's not getting better. So the the whole point is that mindset is a huge risk. It's a huge risk that you'll be telling yourself the same story and prolonging the suffering. So the cutting, at least you have control over the cutting, right? If you don't cut, you have no control. So there's, 10 years is a long time, but 20 is more.
But to cut is painful, but not to cut is also painful. So maybe they don't outweigh which one is more painful, so they just don't want to change.
Yeah, Kahneman has done that research, right? The psychologist who won the economics Nobel Prize in 2003 or four. It's all these strange behaviors that people engage in when it comes to losing and betting and sticking with it,
Oh,
these
it's like
games.
gambling, right? Gambling, we have something similar. So they just think they cannot be bad luck forever. So they just keep bidding. And at the end they lost everything and they even make a loan or something. A crazy
Yeah. So
story.
the mind, we can rationalize anything, right? The mind will just come up with all kinds of stories, but they're not always in our best interest.
Yeah. Do you think our emotion can affect our energy level, can affect our trust level or our judgment to trust?
I think I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if we have high energy, then we probably have high self-esteem and confidence, and so we need to check in with ourselves. Like what is my intuition saying? What is my thinking saying? What's the assessment? What's the feeling? It's not 100% accurate, but I think the better energy level we have, the better consumer we can be. Right? Do I buy this? Is this story real, or is someone trying to sell me something? Right?
Yeah. That's so true. That's why I always mention high energy state is very important for here. But I mean self-esteem also. Self-esteem is really important for the relationship. Like
And you haven't mentioned it, but exercise, like taking care of oneself, exercising, it gives us high self-esteem, it oxygenates the brain, it gives us some more confidence, more like a sense that I can take whatever comes at me. I mean, we really got, it can't be this conceptual thing like I'm strong. We really have to do something about
yeah. But I still have a biggest question for you, which is any advice for some people just really lost the trust to everything. I know some people like when they suffer from divorce or suffer from a long relationship suddenly break up and they have a big issue. I have two cases actually. One is difficult to trust another partner again. It's
it.
just
Sure.
want to be isolate themselves. They don't want to connect to other people. Or another one is the cut loss theory. She's still with him, but and then it's still I mean my case is not the worst case. I'm fine with it. Because she went to the therapist and then the therapist mentioned many horrible case like beat up violence and then she's not there yet, so she's saying my case is fine, just cheating, it's fine, but it's not fine, but so any advice for both of them, like
What you're talking about are, traumatic, people suffer traumas, like life stressors. Like if a partner dies, it's the most stressful thing that could happen. If you divorce, it's the second most stressful thing. Like, there's a lot of stressors in the world that can happen to us, and how we bounce back from that will determine, I think, our future success. But these can be traumatic experiences, and people get depressed. I mean, when you say I don't trust anything, I think that's another way of saying I'm depressed.
oh
Basically,
okay,
you know, it's
wow.
depressed. It's a depressive state.
So even for
So
the business, let's say someone just difficult to build a trust relationship for other people. What's it happen? It would be a small business, definitely. It won't be something big. But so it's also one kind of depression.
well, it's a lack of motivation, right? It's a laziness. It's a lethargy. I mean, if I can't say I at least trust myself to work hard and start this business, if you can't even say that, it's going to be really hard to get anything done. So that's definitely depressive.
Yeah,
very progressive.
really. So, Dr. Margaret, you have mentioned a very interesting point is to trust yourself. Because we only, when we say trust, we assume it's to outside, it's to someone else,
Right.
right? But you mentioned something very great, I find, is to trust yourself. And actually, not so many people can do it. Like, trust and believe in yourself. You will have the capability to do something. Not so many
Mhm.
people can do it because we like they think we are limited or something, but we are not limited, but they assume they're limited somehow, you know. So, any
Yeah.
advice for us to build the more trust in ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to reduce it to optimistic, pessimistic, but optimistic people tend to look for positive things in the world, find them, and then feel reinforced. Like, oh, okay, there's a lot of good stuff here. Pessimistic people, or people who tend to go pessimistic, will scan for negatives and find a lot of negatives in the world. And so, in both cases, you have confirmation bias. Like, I find the things I'm looking for, I find the things I'm expecting. So, if that's the case, why not choose the positive one and say, you know, I might have messed up, but I could do better. I can do better on the next deal. It's like positive self talk. You know, what did I learn over there? I've been here before. What can I do better to take care of myself and the people near me so that I can do better next time? So it's almost like a pep talk, really. Um, or if I feel like I made bad decisions because I didn't trust myself, then the question is, well, why not? Why don't I trust myself? This is a very good question for self growth, awareness, maybe therapy. Like, what,
Mm,
what's the deal? Why are you not trusting yourself? Right? It seems like humans are so complex and talented. We could choose very small scale projects to succeed in, and then show, oh, I can do that. So now, how do I scale that up? Right? I mean, it's like a learning process. What we
mm.
focus on tends to be, dictate the outcome.
I see. So, let's say someone's pessimistic. Actually, the things he or she can do is self awareness, or to ask for the external help, like therapists or something, right?
Yeah. What was the word you used? If someone's pessimistic,
Yeah. Let's say
uh,
someone from negative mindset to how to make them to become positive again.
well, the first step in any self awareness or growth is to acknowledge and say, oh, yeah, compared to my friends, or I just took this test, I'm really pessimistic. I didn't even know that. I just thought everything was crap. So to actually have a word for it and say, oh, I am more pessimistic than the average person. I don't want to be. I want to work on that. Is part one. But if a person says everything's fine, I don't need to change.
No one can
Pessimist,
change them.
optimist, it doesn't matter.
No
There's
one
going to be
can
no change.
change them. I think it's for me. I never try to change any person because I think it's impossible. I think the change has to be come from yourself. I
That's
never
a
try
person.
to change my partner or my family. That's
Got to inspire.
impossible, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's who you have to work with is yourself. Absolutely,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, yeah. I heard I was talking to my best friend and she mentioned the self-development channel because I always want to do a self-development video. And she say, you know what, Yomi, if they don't want to, if they're not interested in self-development, they will never listen to your channel. It's so true because if someone just not there, it's not, maybe they just want cooking video, just want dating video, so they never come to
Sure.
this kind of channel. They're just not interested. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But now that you have 3.5, 4 billion people on the internet, some people will search for self development.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's why I say, oh, today we can talk about trust, which is happen to everyone, and also relationship. I'm sure happy everyone has come to this issue about trust, like being trust and also to trust the other person. And what I have learned from you today is the self trust, which I have ignored. I have a strong belief in myself, but I just ignore, wow, how important it is, the self trust.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
So it's a very good message for all of us. So thank you for your information today, Dr. Mark Green. Thank you.
Very
See,
welcome. Yeah,
thank
talk
you.
to you again.
Thank you.
Talk to you
See
again.
you. Bye.
Bye.